Welcome to Debbie's Back Porch. Today we're in the garden, even though we're actually in the basement. A while back I showed you how we started seeds. And the seed starting process here generally starts about 8 weeks before the last expected frost. Our last expected frost is April 10th. So we've been in the process here for a little while. It's ongoing. It needs a little bit of attention every day. We started seeds in our seed starter trays. We put them under lights on a heat mat, and they have been developing. I'm going to show you the different stages of development, but what I'm going to do right now is we have some tomatoes to repot. So what I'm mixing here is some seed starting medium. This is some that I bought. It's a soilless medium. It has various mixtures of perlite, vermiculite, coconut coir. There may even be some peat moss in here, even though I generally try not to buy peat moss for ecological reasons. It is not a renewable resource, by the way. So we mix this up. We don't want it to be soppy. We want it to be damp. Would like for it to hold together but not have that. So we're going to add some more. I guess you saw that water running out. The reason that we're wetting this is because when we fill a pot for transplanting, we don't want to have air gaps, air holes. We want the water to be able to wick up to the roots, to the plants evenly. So we mix this up because dry soil won't wick moisture properly. You need to start with damp soil or a damp growing medium. So this is nice and damp. I'm using regular water from the kitchen sink, but we let it sit generally to off-gas any chemicals. And during the summer when the air conditioner is running, I collect water from the air conditioner condensation to use because it is pretty much as chemical free as it's going to get, pulled directly from the atmosphere. So I have here damp growing medium. I have down here dry growing medium. So we're going to do two different kinds today. My friend Jamie, who is my camera person, was given 2 tomato plants from the store. And it's way too early to plant. It is March 21st, 20th? 19th. March 19th. See, when you're retired, every day's Saturday. But it's way too early to put them out. So we're going to set them up to stay healthy inside. These are better boys. This one is a better boy. It is a hybrid. And just so that you know, a hybrid is a tomato or any plant that has been crossed either intentionally or unintentionally, a cross between 2 different plants. These are not something you could save the seed from. Well, you could, but you wouldn't get a true reproduction of the original plant because it's not an heirloom or open pollinated plant. Okay, so what we're doing is I'm putting a layer of damp soil in the bottom. Now we're going to do some measuring. I'll show you what I'm doing. I want the plant to be able to be planted so that as little of the actual plant is above ground as possible. So this one's actually fairly big, but I got a deep pot for it. So I'm going to take a little bit more of this soil out. Hold on a second. Now, I'm ready. If you'll see, this plant has a lot of little offshoots. When you plant a tomato either into a bigger pot or out in the ground, I'm going to have to take my glove off, you want to plant it as deeply as possible because each of these little limb areas is going to make roots. Sorry, I'm not lining up with the camera too well. So what I do is pinch them off very carefully. The important part of the plant is your stalk. If you break the stalk, you've pretty much lost the plant, but you can pinch leaves off. Now these were somewhere in a greenhouse somewhere, I don't know. Some of these leaves don't look totally healthy. So I may pinch some of them off, and I just throw stuff. This is the basement, so I'm just throwing stuff on the floor. We'll sweep it up later. Okay, so we have trimmed this plant up. Gloves back on, sorry, just a second. I have some dirt, some soil down in here. Now it's fairly important to be careful with the roots. You want to handle it somewhat gently, but you may have to give it a tug. Now look, this is a greenhouse tomato plant. See all these roots that are running through here? And this is not badly root bound, but the key, according to Elliot Coleman, and look him up if you haven't read his books, the key to strong tomatoes is to never let the roots feel constriction. Plant it in a bigger pot and then a bigger pot, and if it's still too cold outside to plant it, put it in even a bigger pot. I occasionally end up with tomato plants in 6-inch pots because it didn't get warm as soon as I thought it would be. So what we're doing now is we're going to put this in a bigger pot so its roots can spread out. And I'm going to put it down carefully into this growing medium. Now you see, we're now going to bury this plant up to here. That's why I pinched away the roots. So I'm putting damp growing medium around it and carefully pushing it down. Now I'm not making it hard, but I'm pushing it down to make sure we don't have air pockets, because air pockets don't wick water well. And what this tomato plant needs, wait a minute, I let it move over too far. It needs to be in the middle. What this plant needs is room for its roots to grow so the roots will wick water up to the plants properly. And if you have air holes, air spaces in your medium, it can't do that. Uninterrupted growth is what you're aiming for in starting healthy plants. I'm going to put a little dry on the top for no scientific reason except that I just do that. Okay. You want to fill it as full as you possibly can. That helps with the airflow. Now I'll say again, I've not made this hard, but I have made it firm and without air pockets so that the water can wick up nicely and feed this plant. So what you see here, wiping it down a little bit, is you have way more soil than you have plant. But if you restrict the roots in the growth process, you're going to restrict the growth potential of the plant. Now we're going to put this in with our other plants, and I'll show you that process after I've repotted a couple more. Okay, I'm back. What I have here, I'm going to show you why I say this is an ongoing process. What I have here is babies that we've started under a grow light. And even under a grow light, because we're in a basement here, some of them are already a little bit leggy, meaning they were reaching too quickly for the light, even though I had a very high wattage light on these. So what I do is I watch. This was full. I've already transplanted these. They had better light, so they grew faster. What I'm going to do is go through here and pick out the ones that I think can be transplanted safely. I'm trying to increase the light, and if you'll see, some of them haven't germinated, but if you look down in the little holes, you'll see that they are germinating. They're not a factory. They don't churn it out at the same speed. Each seed is a little bit different. Each seed is individual. So if you start 55, like I did here, you may get 4 to transplant, and then another 5, and then maybe just 1. So I check them every day, and if I see anything that is able to be transplanted or that I think is going to have a better chance transplanted, I will do it then. And I'm saying transplanted. What I really mean is repotting. To me, transplanting is when you put it out in the yard. So I'm repotting, and some of these I will repot again later as they get large. So I'm looking at this, and I see one here with true leaves. I'm going to repot it. And I see another here with true leaves, and here. So I'm going to repot in here. There's 4 in this that I think can stand and will benefit from repotting. Now I tend to repot very early because I like to repot them before their leaves, before their roots encounter any obstacles. I'm a student of Elliot Coleman, and he says you should never let the roots be constricted. If I left these another week, the roots would be coming out into the water, and that would be okay. I just like to repot them earlier than that. And I'll show you, you may see some roots coming out of this medium. Yes, if you'll see, the roots are starting to come out of this medium. I hope you can see the little roots. In another week, it'll be covered in roots. So I've picked the 4 that I'm going to repot, and I'll show you how I do one of them. And when I'm done, I'll cover the rest of them back up with the grow dome and put them back under the T5 grow light. So I'm going to do this just as I did the greenhouse tomatoes that we got, that we repotted for Jamie. Just a little of the damp growing medium in the bottom. And here is my favorite seed starting tool. This is a pair of scissor tweezers. You can get them in the manicure section at your drugstore. This is the little seedling that we just looked at. I do a measure because I don't want to bury it all the way, but I want to bury it right up to the leaves. So I need a little more. There we go. Hold it with 2 fingers. Fill in on each side, going around. Each side going around. Pressing firmly, but not hard. Again, this is because you want to make sure that the water can wick evenly all through your pot. Okay, now I have covered the little pod that it was growing in. We have plenty of moist soil in there. And I fill it all the way to the top. And there's a reason for filling it all the way to the top. One is the more soil it has, the plant gets, the better. Its roots have more room to grow. But the other is because you want to keep circulation going, I have a fan that runs 24 hours a day, a gentle fan that keeps the air moving in my basement where I do my seed starting, because circulation is important. As this grows, as this little plant grows and gets taller, you want to simulate the outside conditions as much as possible. So I keep light on it 16 hours a day. I'm no longer going to have this on a heat pad because it's warm enough in my basement. I had them on a heat pad to germinate the seeds, but it's warm enough in the basement now to take them at this stage off the heat pad. And it'll have some airflow, and I'll touch it every once in a while. And we do a bottom watering. I never put water up here. I keep these in a tray, and I put water in the tray, and I'll show you that tray here in shortly. So this is how I repot a brand new baby seedling, probably earlier than most folks you have seen do it. But in my experience, if I go ahead and put it in the dirt or in the soil medium and give it plenty of water underneath and plenty of light overhead, it will grow very fast and very strong. Okay, now this is my secondary grow box, and I have fancy names for things. What this is a T8 fluorescent light and a simple garden tray. And this is aluminum foil insulation, which gives a little reflection. I don't know if it really does make the light brighter, but it seems brighter to me. So that what you see here is from several different repottings. These are the two hybrid. It's a big boy and a better boy that Jamie got from a greenhouse that we're going to hold in a healthy environment until it's ready to put them in the ground. This is the one little baby that I just repotted. So it's tiny. This one is the little baby we just repotted, so it's very, very tiny. And what you have back here are ones that I repotted like this last week. And you see that they are getting bushier. They're feeling healthier. They're still a little bit leggy. It's been very dark in my basement, but you can see that they're getting healthy and they're growing. I have another 3 weeks before I can put these in the ground. I may pot this one into a 4-inch pot. This is a 3-inch pot. I may pot it into a 4-inch pot to make sure that it doesn't stop its growing at all during the process. I have them in a simple garden tray. You can pick these up wherever you go to your nursery. Generally they have them to give away. You can order them. They're very inexpensive. They're the ones with no holes. And in here I have water about that deep. About that deep. I fill it full of water and then leave it until it goes dry. And then I put more water. These never get water from above. Even when I put them out in the garden, unless it rains, they don't get water from above. They're always watered underneath so that the roots are reaching down and getting stronger. So this is how I start little baby tomato plants. Okay, I want to show you these. These were repotted just yesterday. The same as the tiny little one that I just showed you. If you'll see, they're already reaching up. They're already reaching up. They're getting a little stronger. That's 1 day's growth. 1 day. Okay, what I have here is, this is the growth starter set that I was just pulling from. I put the grow dome back on, put it back under the light. This is a T5 grow light. This is a grow light that just screws into a regular receptacle, a regular little cheap outlet. And I just use it for supplemental. But if you'll notice, this T5 light is laying on the dome. You get it as close as you can. And these are the ones that are just now starting Some of these are a day, 2 days, even 3 days away from being repotted, like the one that I just showed you. Okay, I'll show you this again. I've showed you this in a previous video. This is my grow box. This is 125 watt Hydrofarm full daylight spectrum light. And then what I have here supplementally is just some grow light bulbs screwed into regular receptacles, and I have 2 heat pads on the bottom. This is the underside of a table lined with aluminum foil insulation. So what we have is a bright and warm area inside this grow box. I have 3 trays of assorted seeds started. These over here are tomatoes. This in the middle is cumin and cilantro and milkweed and I don't remember what else. Herbs, basil, because I'm starting 15 basil plants to companion plant with my tomatoes outside. I'm still trying some peppers back there, and these are our sweet potatoes. So this is a very protected environment. When these plants get big enough, I'll move them under the T5 light and start the repotting process. So that's sort of in a nutshell how I do this. I start doing this 6 to 8 weeks prior to my last expected frost date, and then I do a little bit every day so it's never overwhelming. Sometimes the volume of plants gets overwhelming, so I have several different setups in shelves with the T8 lights or the T5 lights, so that we can keep things moving all the time so that we never interrupt the growth cycle of the seedlings.